Hello and welcome to today's video, and welcome to a fresh, new and exciting angle. Just ignore all the cobwebs. I'm very excited today because I'm very pleased to be able to announce the premiere of my latest composition. It is called Look, No Hands and No Feet. Yeah, okay, we've got a problem with the pedal board. I wish I could write something so inspiring like this pedal is giving to me right now. I was just practicing for an upcoming recital and noticed that this note was getting rather woolly and bouncy. So I thought I would take away the previous DIY job that I did to that note, and this happened. Hello, I'm just doing an introduction. So in today's video, I just thought we would take the pedal board away from the organ console, see what the issue is, try to fix it, and along the way, I'll tell you two stories about why and how this pedal note has become so naughty, just like you. So the first thing we're going to do is get rid of that middle D. It's a gedakt. Easy as that. And then remove these two pins, one on either side of the pedal board. The organ will then slide out from the console, which then leaves intact a cable which attaches the pedal board to the organ itself. That's one of the stories I've got to tell you about. So we just disconnect that now, very gently. There we go. This is a wonderful tool. All you need to do is push it on the screw itself, tell it to unscrew, and it will do it for you. That's so cool. There we go. Take off this wonderful piece of veneer. Now let's have a look at what's going on down here. Okay, so here is the pedal in question. That's middle D, and as you can see already, it has a different screw to the other types of pedal. I've put that one on. We had an incident which I'll get to very shortly. Get another screwdriver. I'm not going to use that electric one. These screws are quite delicate. So I'm actually taking the screw off completely. Before I do that, actually, I'm going to remove the front part of the pedal board. So this bit here. I love manual labour, especially in this heat. Okay, all screws are off. This should now fairly easily come off. Let's see. It's coming, it's coming. Just be careful with it. There we go. It's off now. This is the exciting bit. If you're into this sort of thing, I can show you how the pedals actually work. That's D, that's attached to the middle D on the pedal board. Now you'll need to look very carefully. Can you see that these two pieces of metal here? So the top one, which is going horizontally, is actually resting on the bottom piece attached to this rear part here. Can you see that? And whereas the other ones aren't. So this one, I have to push the pedal down for it to make contact. That's basically how the pedal knows that that note has been pressed. When you push the pedal down, it makes a contact and then sends a signal via MIDI through there into the computer. As you can see, this pedal is resting on the bottom from its own weight, and therefore is resting on the hook. And we need to do something about that. That's why it's sounding. The problem is, I suspect, the issue is with on this rear end here. I already started to undo this screw. What we're going to do is remove this pedal board, the pedal, sorry. So I'm going to take out this little bit here. Just remove it from the pedal itself so it's not attached. You see that? And then I'm going to finish unscrewing that. Okay, now all screws are off. The pedal should nicely, just easily slide out. Be gentle. Yep, there we go. So there is a pedal. There's an organ pedal note. That's middle D. Organ no longer has middle D. That would be rather fun to play without that note. Not. Okay, so let me just tell you about a time when the day. Do you remember I did a recital a few months ago, back to Bach? It was all Bach, and I played a number of his larger preludes and fugues and chorale preludes. Obviously, a lot of that repertoire required middle D. Actually, indeed, required a lot of pedal notes, actually. So what I thought I would do, in advance of the recital, on the day itself, this is a lesson, don't make changes on the day of a big concert if it's going to go live onto YouTube. I thought I would tighten up these pedals just to make them feel a bit more, you know, you have to press them with a bit more weight to make them sound, I prefer them heavy rather than loose. So the way to do that on this organ is to simply just tighten all of these nuts, or screws as they are down there. That then just increases the tension on this piece of metal which sits under, it acts as a spring, which sits under the pedal. Now let me take you down to middle D. So I think I started at that end actually, worked it all the way up from bottom C chromatically, got to middle D, and of course this one of these screws, the head snapped off in the wood. And I thought, oh blimey, that's bad news. Looked at it for a minute, panicked. I thought, okay, it's not a problem. I've actually got a bit more space in the wood here to put another one in. So I went into the garage and got another, a similar sort of screw, started screwing it, and would you believe it, the same thing happened to that one as well. Now I'm left with two broken screws in the sort of in the base with no way of getting them out. And I've also run out of space. So I thought, you know, bearing in mind this is the day of the recital, I thought I'm going to have to cancel the concert. People are going to be furious. But anyway, so I actually decided to give it a third go, you know, third time lucky, and was very, very, very gentle. I made another hole with a different type of screw, which I knew wouldn't break. The time before that, I told you there were two stories. If I just go over here and grab this horrendous piece of cable, which is covered in sellotape. I did a recital in November last year, or was it at the end of October? November, October. It was the Healy-Willan recital, and it was the first time I played the Healy-Willan Introduction, Passacato and Fugue, along with the Toccata and Fugue in F by Bach, 540. It was the first time I'd ever played either of those two pieces. Big concert. And I pulled the pedalboard out. Do you know what? It might have even been to have done the exact same thing, to tighten up the pedals. I've done it a few times actually. I must admit I haven't done it since. And originally this connector here was on the end of this cable, so it was there. So and that's basically as far out as a cable will come. So you have up until this point, and if you pull the pedal, if it's still attached, if you pull the pedal board any further than that, it will pull out the connector with a great old jolt, which is exactly what I did. Pull the pedal board out, rather excited to sort out these pedals. Forgot it was still connected. The whole thing went into a million pieces. The connector snapped. All of these, I don't know what you'd call them, you electricians would know, but all these individual cables in this wire all became frayed and were just hanging loose. Panic attack. So I had to, well, I sat for about 10 minutes, almost sobbing, wondering what on earth I was going to do. I even contacted Viscount directly. I was so desperate. But I thought, no, I can fix this. So I actually went down to my local DIY store and bought lots of these cable connectors. Can you see those? So I actually then got a pair of wire cutters and cut away the plastic from every single wire, and gradually, one by one, it took me ages, absolutely ages. I went through and connected them all up to this one. So I had to do it on both sides, cut the plastic from both sides and join up the metal. And that is something that I hope will never happen again, because that was worrying. Anyway, so I've broken this pedal board twice. I am careful with my organs, I promise. Anyway, let's get back to this. Let's have a look at why this pedal was hanging down low. So I know from previous experience that this metal spring here, it adds the tension, it adds the pressure and adds the weight to the pedal. And these screws here, this is the way it's been designed. So the front screw, this one, holds it in place. So that one's quite tight. And then the second screw at the back there, just see it sits above the metal. It allows the metal bar to raise up. That's the spring, right? And if you tighten that the rear screw, it makes it tighter, and therefore more pressure and heavier. And the opposite is true if it's looser as well. It does feel a little bit loose. I suspect that if I tighten that screw somewhat, it will hopefully resolve the issue. Okay, I don't want to have it too tight because I don't want there to be too much pressure on this rear screw back here, otherwise we'll lose the head in the base again. So let's put it back on with a tighter screw. Let's see if that fixes it. So the first thing I need to do is to slide it back in, reattach this inside. Okay, and now I need to put the screw into that hole very carefully without it snapping for the third time. If it snaps this time, then you are all my witness. I'm going to be very careful. Actually, so the pedal, it's not tight at all, but the pedal has just sprung back up into life. Let's go a bit tighter. I ideally want it to feel the same as C and E. E's quite tight, C is a bit looser. It's feeling quite good actually. It's feeling quite good. there we have it. I think that will do. I dare not do it any tighter. I'll give it one more little twist. I'm a risk taker in life. Here we go. Now I've done it about 1 millimetre more. I'm not going any further than that. Next thing we need to do is attach it up to the console to see if it works or whether this cable has broken again. There you go. And the good thing about these is you can actually adjust them so that the rear, that little bit there, you can actually adjust that, make it higher or lower, and you can then make the pedals more or less responsive. I think we ought to put this back now before I cause any more damage. There we have it, a working pedal board. I think being an organist, it's essential that you just know how to do DIY and you're not afraid to take, I don't know, calculated risks on repairing your organ, because if it does go wrong, it can be a very, very expensive risk. I think you have to be prepared to pay for those repairs. I mean, one of the things I'm going to do with this organ very soon is get a Viscount around to give it a good proper service and hopefully fix that pedal lobe properly. But the good news is today that I don't need to use the wretched bit of sponge anymore. A little bit of a inside bit of information for you is my Enquiries recital on Saturday was done using that, and it wasn't ideal. In fact, I was complaining to Caroline before the recital that I wasn't sure really how the pedal was going to act, and I wondered whether I might take it apart and do something with it, but I decided on that occasion not to make any changes on the day of the recital. Anyway, we had connection issues, which was annoying in itself. By the way, whilst I'm down here, someone asked me what I'm using to prop up the pedal, the bench, sorry, and it's these little bits of pine wood here. There we go. So, organ DIY SOS. Hope that was at all interesting to any of you. Please do feel free to leave a comment on the video. You know, what DIY jobs have you had to do to your organ? Have you had any issues with your pedal board? Anything you want me to, or anything you think I'd be interested in hearing, please do let me know in a comment. I'll probably be doing more of these because the organ will probably go wrong again in the future. But until it goes wrong, I will see you on the next DIY video. Goodbye everyone, take care.